After yesterday's race win, Cameron Beaubier moves one step closer to being #1 on the all-time AMA win list with his 84th. And he was able to claw back 5 points in the championship on Josh Herrin. But Herrin looks to be in full control. The question is, can he wrap things up today, or will we continue without a champion to the final of the season? It's time to gear up and fire him up. It's time to go racing. You're locked into the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Texas. It's round 8 of 9 for 2024 in our 10th anniversary season. We're in Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas as the stage is set for Steel Commander Superbike race number 2, our second of 3 Steel Commander Superbike races on the weekend. And the sun is shining and the temperature is climbing, and that's going to make things awfully complicated. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, yesterday, Josh Herrin put on a masterful race, but towards the end of the race, when push came to shove, he did something very mature in his championship hunt. He let Cameron Beaubier win without trying to force the issue and make a mistake.
Yeah, he definitely has, and since pretty much halfway from the year, during the year, he's rode impeccable, really. At Mid-Ohio, we saw a couple wins here at Mid-Ohio. He did exactly what he needed to do. He got to the front, stretched the field out, had a couple late warnings, as I'm sure we'll see here in a minute, but you'll see Cam Beaubier got into second early, then had a problem where the bike went into neutral and actually dropped him back. Sean Dillon Kelly was a big factor, as you see JD Beach there as well. This is when Cam took the lead, and about 3 corners later, he had this little problem where the bike got stuck in a neutral. He went back to third. SDK took to the front for a minute as Josh turned back up underneath him, but it was a couple turns after that where we saw Sean Dillon Kelly unfortunately have to stick his leg out and park his BMW on the side of the track. So it came down to 2 guys. As you see, Beaubier had fallen a little bit behind after SDK had that problem. This was the front end slide. That was the big warning that Josh had, and from that point on, very heady of him. I spoke to him yesterday evening. He said, yeah, I did think about that the next time through. Fair play. Got his 20 points. Cam Beaubier did what he needed to do in winning that race yesterday. And for the number 6, that's what he's got to continue to try to do for today as well.
And so this is the way the championship points laid out after the race. Herrin with 264, Cameron Beaubier with 209, Bobby Fong with 202. Obviously, Jake Gagne, or if we haven't heard, is out for the rest of the season, so he's not a factor in this one, and Cameron Peterson here as well. But at this point, Jason, there's only 100 points on offer, and there's a lot of scenarios to play out for Josh Herrin. If he wins the race now, this afternoon, he could finish third. It's so much to play for, and we know Cameron Beaubier is going for the big wins. But the sun is shining, it's hot out there, and the asphalt is steaming, and the third member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa, is down in the middle of the action.
Greg, you're absolutely right. It is hot conditions already for the first of 2 races today. Some tough luck in yesterday's race for Sean Dillon Kelly, but moving ahead, just regrouping today. What's the strategy?
Yeah, no, we had a little bit of bad luck yesterday, but it's racing. Stuff happens. The important part is we were up front. I was feeling pretty good. So, yeah, just looking forward to the 2 races today, 2 more opportunities. It's clear that we're going to have a fight up front, so I'm just looking forward to being there. And as I've been trying to do, just want to fight for that win and want to come up top at the end.
Best of luck out there, Sean. Moving right across the grid here, Richie Escalante returning from an injury at Ohio last round and now on the podium here yesterday. Richie, how can you continue to build on the progress that you've made throughout this weekend for 2 races today?
Yeah, so now a small change on the bike to be a little bit more calm, especially to the end of to have a little bit more in the last lap. So big thanks to my crew, to my team, Vision, William, Foresta, Suzuki. I feel really good, so for sure I need to start a little bit better, so that's the first plan. And after turn 1, just enjoy the race, push hard, and try to finish on the podium again. But today, 2 opportunities, and it's really important to finish the races and keep going in this process. But thank you for everything.
Best of luck, Richie. A very optimistic Richie Escalante, guys.
And he should be. He's on fire. He's on the gas, and he continues to ride himself into better fitness. And this racetrack, extremely demanding here at Circuit of the Americas. is 3.4 miles long. It's got a lot of elevation changes, and even though you have those 2 long straightaways, especially between 11 and 12, a good passing opportunity on the backside of 12, it's got a lot of turns, and so you don't have to have the fastest bike to win at this racetrack, but a fast bike certainly helps. But a more intimate look at Circuit of the Americas from our Insta360 camera. Jason, it's a track lap.
Yeah, this is great. This is Xavi Flores breaking up into turn 1. Very, very slow. You can see how much it cuts back on itself. Then you go down this big steep hill. This is some of the elevation that Greg was just talking about. Then you have a series of these very, very fast S's, Greg. You're going to see he comes into these third gear pretty much, I mean, definitely wide open on your way in. There's going to be a back shift to second, as you can see there on the dash. This is the big long right. It's a double apex. It cuts back on itself. And then you got a quick left, and then it goes back uphill. As soon as he's out of this left, Greg, it goes back uphill to a right-hander and then another quick left again. So very active, and in these hot conditions, the riders are going to feel that. Now you see the big tower there that Coda's famous for. This is behind the pits. This is the turn 18, 19 area, 17, 18, 19. You go through here, Greg, again, back to second gear for those last 2 turns. And you got a short run to the finish line here. And for Xavi, getting back on this bike, you can see he back shifts to first for this last corner. And what is essentially, they have probably about 5 first gear turns here on a Superbike.
Incredible pictures from Circuit of the Americas. And how about this guy? We are 4 minutes away from a race start, and this is when Josh Herron goes to work. He's looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to see what he's got going on.
Staying with you live here on MotoAmerica Live Plus. You can see everyone clearing the grid area as we get closer and closer to the second of 3 Superbike races here this weekend. Roger, I thought it was interesting. Richie Escalante said about a small change to the bike. He felt like he needed a little more pace at the end of the race, despite being able to get on the podium.
Yeah, I think, we've seen him really charging toward the front there mid-race, and then toward the last couple laps, he kind of fell off a little bit. So I think, at the end, he was 6 seconds from the victory. So I think whatever, tire wear, the bike or something, tried to make some changes this morning in the warm-up and see if he can be quicker those last 4 or 5 laps.
See Josh Herron there at the front of the grid, qualified second, right there in the middle of the front row, going for a championship with 3 races here this weekend. I love the leathers, the whole design, the throwback there, paying tribute to Geraldo Faraci and Fast by Faraci and being able to win that championship 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's really cool for Josh to be able to do that, and just for the series, it's that's when I was a kid. That's what I seen when I seen Fast by Faraci, and it's just been awesome to see it on track yesterday. And Josh knows what he needs to do. He did it yesterday. He's going to get a really good start. He usually does. Really racy early on, and then he'll play it out as the race comes. He'll just take it, to see where he is lap by lap. I think he'll definitely try to fight a little bit, but he's not going to take any risk.
Here on the warm-up lap, you saw that Suzuki bike. This Brandon Posh, he's back on the 3rd row, but he very quickly charged his way through to get the clean track going around.
Yeah,
why would you do that?
Some guys just like to go ahead and hit their marks and kind of get up to speed a little bit quicker and just kind of, go fast. Check the track temperature, check the grip, and, some guys are kind of slow, but, when you really know your tires are up to temperature, it is hot out, that first lap, you want to be able to know where you're at.
I checked in with Dunlop just before bikes went out onto the racetrack to see what the track temperature was. It is up to over 109 degrees. It is going to be a scorcher out there for race number 2 for the Steel Commander Superbike category. There is the number 6 bike, Cameron Beaubier. He won yesterday. Let's send it to Greg and Jason to find out if he can do it again.
Steel Commander Superbike coverage is brought to you by Steel Commander Corps, a leading steel building manufacturer offering expertise, innovation, and a dedication to quality. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Starting grid for Steel Commander Superbike race number 2, same as yesterday. Cameron Beaubier with that new Steel Commander Superbike track record, 206.559. Herron and Paz, your front row.
Then you have Sean Dillon Kelly, Richie Escalante, and Xavi Flores. Brandon Posh, JD Beach, Bobby Fong, Ashton Yates, Cam Peterson, who's just having a bit of a struggle this week, Greg, and Benjamin Smith. Hopefully we see Cam Peterson do a little better. Daniel Lewis, Linders, Ezra Bovee, Nolan Lampkin, Sierra and Jason Waters, and Alex Rango, Bobby Davis, and Manny Segura. So that is your starters.
Just got the word from Dunlop on the tire selection, Jay. It looks like Cameron Beaubier on that R5, everybody on the R7 rear, R5 front, R7 front for Baz and for Herrin. It looks like the only big change is Richie Escalante. It looks like he went for the harder compound R7 front from yesterday.
Yep.
So we had talked about it, Jay, that Escalante yesterday was able to get towards the front very quickly.
Yeah.
Then it stabilized, and then he dropped off as quickly as he got there, and so that might have been something to do with the longevity of the front tire and the setup with his motorcycle.
I think there's a few things that factored in. A lot of energy went to getting him back up into that area that he, up in the front three guys. I think once SDK, retired from the race, and Richie's health too. I mean, he's still working his way back into fitness. It was very hot yesterday. Podium was a big deal for that team yesterday, and he's going to try to repeat that today.
12 laps. Steel Commander Superbike race number 2. When those red lights go off, we're away. And it looks like a good launch from all three on the front row. Baz, it looked like a better launch than yesterday. The 76 is going to be shuffled back, so not a great one for him, but Herrin has position through turn number 1. Up the inside he goes. A carbon copy of yesterday as Herrin's going to try to control the pace. Now Sean Dillon Kelly slots himself into third.
Yeah, Cam Bovee really tried to get his way in there on Herrin, but they went up there together, gave themselves a little bit of room, and Herrin was able to hold on to that lead. And again, Greg, the best air is the clean air out front, in the sense that you want to try to set the pace, separate the field. He's got the same 2 guys behind him that he's raced with at the last 2 races. We saw this 3 at Mid-Ohio. We saw them yesterday as well. And for Herrin right now, put his head down while these tires are brand new, while these Dunlops are new. Put his head down and get away as much as he can from everybody else.
Josh Herrin, the number 2, leading the way on that Fast by Faraci livery. It's an ode to Geraldo Faraci, who's part of the team from his last championship 30 years ago.
I like what I see from Cam Peterson as well. He's got a really nice start, Greg. You can see he's up the back of Loris Baz right now. They're going to be side by side, headed down the end of the back straightaway here for 4th place.
There's Beaubier.
Yep,
Beaubier's trying to get 2 of them.
Wow, 2 for 1, maybe?
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what Josh does so well. He controls that speed on his way in. So what that tells me is Herrin's braking really deep, and in order to get by him, you got to just try to get up alongside of him, like we saw Beaubier do yesterday, and make it a little bit harder for him to turn in. And look at Sean Dillon Kelly now going down the inside of Herrin.
Herrin, it stands him up. He does the right thing, doesn't lean on SDK, and now he's going to hold on to 2nd place as Sean Dillon Kelly now off to the races. Maybe SDK feeling he's got a little bit. It was just a little bit of an electrical gremlin yesterday for Sean Dillon Kelly. His team replaced 2 parts, Jason, in order to get the thing running right. And so far, so good, as battles all over this racetrack. And there's Loris Baz. He's able to come back from a so-so start and now latches onto the back. Cameron Peterson, or is that Chavi? Cam Peterson goes wide.
That's Chavi, actually. Sorry, it was Chavi Flores in 5th anyways. I mistakenly said it was Cam Peterson. It was actually Chavi Flores there. So that was my mistake earlier, Greg. But you can see here, SDK is going to lead them through the S's the first time we've seen him lead his way through these S's. This is, again, good. Look at the gap that they're kind of spreading out right now. Cam Beaubier is going to want to try to get past Herrin as soon as he can as well, then make it a BMW 1-2 at the front.
The big question is the 76 of Loris Baz. Can he get up to his Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati teammate of Josh Herrin? When I spoke with Loris Baz earlier today and asked him about it, he said he's super hungry for a win. However, if he's in a position where he can help his teammate win this championship, that'll be number 1 priority. Number 2 priority will be to win a race.
Yeah, well, for Loris Baz, he really is enjoying his time here in America. As you see, Herrin has a look down the inside of Sean Dillon Kelly. But for Baz, it would be really something for him to try to get a win here. Hannah.
Talking to Sean, he said yesterday was really the first time at race pace that he rode with both Herrin and Beaubier. So it was really important for him to see where he could improve and perhaps where his strengths were. They made some changes to get the bike to turn better, and he learned a lot of just about what lines to take. He said he's been closer to Herrin all weekend.
Sorry,
Looks
Hannah.
like somebody's down in the background. Yeah, guys.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's Richie Escalante who's down, the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki rider who had worked his way up into right around 4th spot. But for Escalante, he crashes off the back straightaway. He's up and okay, Hannah, if you want to continue with your report.
Yeah, so he thinks he has the bike to win, and he said he's been closer to Herron's times all weekend. He said he thinks the one to beat is going to be Beaubier, so he's probably trying to hope to stay out in front.
Yeah, I think, Hannah, that's a great report because I think Cam Beaubier is always the biggest threat as of right now. He knows in order to keep this championship alive, he's got to win races. And he's going to look at this as an even bigger opportunity, especially as you see SDK starting to get away. He's going to think to himself, if I can get by Herron and then get by SDK and put somebody between us, that's that big number of points, Greg, that he's looking at trying to make up. And, you know, for Herron, he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. He's in a great spot right now. He's got somebody in front that he can kind of has a carrot in front of him. They're pulling away from everybody else. And I think this is actually good for Herron right now. He's going to be able to kind of follow these guys around for as many laps as he feels comfortable. I think the big thing is the big picture. He doesn't have to wrap it up today. He's got a nice little gap in the points lead. And if you walk into Jersey with a decent enough point, you can do something good there, you know, in a couple weeks' time.
For Sean Dillon Kelly, EasyHealthPlans.com, top pro racing team, a new team for this year in terms of like their size, their budget, the amount of riders that they have, and they have put on quite a spectacular show. And for Sean Dillon Kelly, the story of him 2 years in Moto 2 and a season of struggling. And it looks like Herron not satisfied to sit in second place as SDK has a look and sees Herron right there. Now the big drag race down the back straightaway. Both got really good drives. And now you have a Ducati in red versus a BMW in white. And SDK has a wheel length at this point down the back straightaway. And we're going to go 3 wide into the braking section. And there goes SDK. But here comes Cam Beaubier up the inside. Sean Dillon Kelly sees him. So Beaubier, is he going to be able to hold the line? No. He goes wide again. But all of a sudden, Herron's back to third.
Yeah, but I love the fight from Herron. And we've seen that all year long. But what it really did with those riders getting together down the back straightaway, they created a double bike draft for the 6 to try to make that pass. And that was a relatively easy pass for Beaubier to make going down into turn 12 there. So now Beaubier's got his gun sights set on Sean Dillon Kelly. And, you know, SDK wants to win one of these races so bad. And here's a good look. Herron gets a really nice run down through that fast turn 10. A lot of commitment there. Gets down the inside. Does a nice job here. SDK is going to cut the BMW back up underneath him. And as they drag race down that back straightaway, it created a double bike draft for Beaubier to come by, only to run a little bit wide on the exit of 12. But SDK is going to get credited with leading another lap. 2:08.59. That last time by was the quickest lap of the race, and it's your guy in 4th, Loris Baz, who does that.
Baz trying to get up there.
Actually, Greg, Cam Beaubier did 2:08.4.
Oh, he did, yeah.
It was Baz's fastest lap of the race at 2:08.5, so he's got pace as well, does the Frenchman.
Fans of MotoAmerica can pick their favorite riders for a chance to win money. Available on your favorite sportbook and daily fantasy sites like DraftKings and Underdog Fantasy. Visit nxtbets.com/PlayMA for exclusive sign-up bonuses for new players and receive bonus cash. Available in legal states. Check out nxtbets.com/PlayMA to see where you can play in your state. All right, so about 8.5 laps to go. Sean Dillon Kelly continues to lead the way from Cameron Beaubier. Tyler Cycles BMW, and Josh Herron on the red Ducati with his teammate just over the horizon. Loris Baz trying to close the gap just 1 second off and really be a factor in this championship. Baz looks to be a little bit closer, but Jay, as I look at this right now, the temperature's a couple degrees cooler than it was yesterday, but the pace is definitely hotter. Let's get to Hannah.
You know, Greg, that's a really good point. Just being out here, the asphalt's so new that it holds on to so much heat. And while it's not too hot temperature-wise, the humidity is making it feel a lot worse than yesterday. And that's something that Josh Herron told me he was thinking about. He said that's the biggest thing on everyone's minds today with 2 races. As far as the bike goes, they race the bike up hoping to get it to change direction a little bit easier. He feels better on the brakes in a straight line, and he can brake deeper and harder, which is something that his competitors really don't want to see in such a close battle at the front here.
You know, Greg, the other guy that thinks Hannah, the other guy that's got good pace was Bobby Fong. He also, Greg, got down into the 2:08s, 2:08.637 for Fong in 5th place, but he made a small mistake there at the end of the back straightaway. So for Fong, you know, another guy that's still in this championship hunt, that team looks like they've gone to work overnight, but you can see the gap that's created now between 4th and 5th place. There's a good look at Bobby right here. So they've gone to work, made some good changes for him on that Wrench Motorcycles R1. And, he was really like running the same pace as these guys. You're going to see this lap here, though, is probably going to be a mid to higher 209. Let's have a look at it when he comes through at 209.9 compared to everybody else's 208.7. So that small mistake cost Bobby about a second.
Yesterday, when Josh Herrin was out front controlling the pace, he started to run the race in kind of mid 209 range. And then as they got to the center part of the race, it was 209 flats. Then all of a sudden, with a couple laps to go, Herrin dropped the pace down to 208s, and he kept going fastest lap of the race, then another one, then another one. But Sean Dillon Kelly has other ideas. Is Herrin able to make up some time on roll speed? As the fastest lap of the race is Sean Dillon Kelly on lap number 2, a 208.0. That's a 208 flat. I mean, that is such a fast lap time, JP. We're talking about, you know, these riders that qualified. Herrin qualifies at a 207.3,
yep.
Baz at a 207.4. Sean Dillon Kelly qualified at a 207.7. That's with a very soft R3 rear tire as Herrin goes up the inside of Cameron Beaubier. So Herrin just decided to make up all that time, and he did it all through the corners, and now the back straightaway they go. And all eyes on Loris Baz to see if he can close down this 1.1 second gap that he has.
Yeah, Baz is a little bit of an accordion effect. He's good in some sections, and it looks like he draws up onto the back of guys. Then he loses at another spot. Now, Cam Beaubier this time does a nice job of controlling his pace going into that corner. And look at Josh still.
Oh.
Josh never follows, and that's a good thing. I mean, I think that for Josh, it's always one side or the other. This is going to help, I think, ease some tension as well. When you're kind of in a battle, Greg, it gives you an opportunity to think about where you're actually at. You're in this fight right now for a victory, and that's what Herrin's got to do. Just keep thinking about what's going on forward, and then see how things play out in the last quarter of the race. As you see here, another good pass. He slots himself in between SDK and Cam Beaubier, rolling into turn 10, gets that number 2 stuck in between them. Then at the end of the back straightaway, Beaubier was able to get back in that draft and do something. But look on the right side of your screen. Herrin takes another shot at Cam Beaubier. He's going to get that turn back up underneath him, but he is just hassling Beaubier right now and not making it easy.
Yeah, and that hopefully for Josh Herrin is drawing Loris Baz even closer, as he's now down to 9/10 of a second behind Josh Herrin, his teammate. But this section for Baz, number 76, it's up turn 1 and through turn 1 and exit, where he seems to be losing most of his time in that first sector.
Yeah,
there is a look at the Frenchman.
His splits are a little bit deceiving when you look at him. You think, oh, where's he losing that time? Because you can see it on the screen where he's actually losing the time. But you'll see that 76 is doing everything he can to get back in there. He's closing in again right now. So for Cam Beaubier, you heard him say yesterday something very interesting in his post-race interview. He said that all weekend long he's had this great feeling with the bike, and he was kind of looking like he didn't have that exact same feel in the race. And here he goes. He's going to take a shot at SDK now as they go down into turn 10. He wants to lead this race, and he wants to try to get away. SDK is going to turn it back underneath him. Now Herrin is in a good spot to get a double bike draft. As you see, SDK has gone back past Beaubier. Beaubier is going to get in that slipstream, though, and be able to do something with him when they get to the end of the back straight.
Here they go into turn number 12, and up the inside goes Beaubier again, but he's done this many times. Can he get a turn? No, he's way off that time. So massive mistake for Cameron Beaubier. He gets back on track and in front of Josh Herrin and loses a couple of those bike lengths. So Beaubier not looking the most comfortable on the front end that we have seen him at different parts of the season. Hannah?
Greg, to expand on what Jason was saying, just about how Cam seems like he's had a really good feeling on the motorcycle, but then it doesn't necessarily show on the track. When I talked to him earlier, he said under these really greasy conditions, and while he recognizes that it's the same for everyone, he feels like maybe he is struggling with his setup specifically a little bit more than some of the other bikes out on track. And while they have a really good package overall, that's something to keep in mind today.
And another front end mistake from Beaubier drifting wide. Herrin is able to get right underneath him and get on by. And now the question is Beaubier going to be able to hang?
It's going to give Josh a lot of confidence seeing Beaubier not being able to do exactly what he wants when he wants. And it's one of those things right now that when you see him go into the end of the back straightaway and run as wide as he did, he's having trouble just getting the bike slowed down. And a little bit to your point, Greg, is that front end feel that you're looking for as a rider. These guys are so in tune with things as he goes up the inside of Josh Herrin in the S's. I mean, these guys have traded positions back and forth in a number of different areas of the racetrack. But for Beaubier, he realizes the opportunity that's ahead of him right now if he's able to get by SDK. SDK doing a tremendous job right now.
There goes Herron again.
Yep.
Herron up the inside again on the right part of your screen.
And again, it's a crazy place to do it in the middle of those S's. These guys have probably passed in 6 or 7 different spots on the track. Beaubier is going to have another look when they get down to the bottom of the hill here. As you can see, he's going to go to the apex and try to stop Herron there.
Tricky corner.
Yep, he's trying to park him. And it's not going to work as Herron is able to cut it underneath him. So he's having trouble just getting the bike slowed down enough to where he can tip the bike in where he needs to.
Yeah. That was 2 veteran racers understanding what was going on as Beaubier using the power of and the slipstream of that BMW to get around Herron. As he just had to look over, and Herron knew exactly what Beaubier had up his sleeve. All the while, by the way, Sean Dillon Kelly is starting to eke away. He doesn't care. He's got one thing in mind. Stand on top of the podium in a Steel Commander Superbike race for the EasyHealthCarePlans.com Top Pro Racing team. What a team they put together as the season is winding down, as these two continue to battle it out for the final spot of the podium and our championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a fight we have here. And all you got to do is get Loris Bass to mix it in. Now, there's a good look at Sean Dillon Kelly. Look at that bike, Greg. You know, that all the kids from the Joe DiMaggio Hospital in Florida have left their mark on the fairings of this motorcycle. I thought that's a great story that we saw break last week through his Instagram and things like that. For SDK, he's got his head down 208.597 to everybody else's 209 flat, 209.4. So while these two guys are racing at the front, while these two guys are racing for second, it's allowing SDK to just slip away a little bit here and pull away from everybody else. Now, they've also started to get away just a little bit from Loris Baz again. Loris, man, he just seems like he closes in, and then it's either a mistake or something happens that's out of our view. He went 29.2 in the last split. But again, it's only, 2-3 tenths slower than the guys in front. So Loris just is losing a little spots somewhere where we can't really tell. But for these two guys here, they're just locked into a battle, and it's 1.5 seconds up front now for SDK.
But when you look at Cameron Beaubier and you look at Josh Herron, these two battling together, how comfortable are they with each other and being able to race this close and not worrying that the other one's going to make a weird, crazy mistake?
They're super comfortable. I mean, these two guys, both class acts, both a lot of bike control. Neither one of them have any kind of reputation of doing anything bad. Herron has a look over his shoulder. That's going to give him a lot of ease right now, knowing that it's his teammate back there, and his teammate's a little, he's not right behind him. He's got 1.2 seconds over Baz there. You see Bobby Fong still putting up the good fight back there in 5th place, and then the rest of the field is quite a long way back. So I like what I've seen from Bobby today from yesterday, Greg. Obviously that team's been working tremendously well this year, and he's put such a fantastic championship campaign together. We saw him do the double at Brainerd on this motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
And everything just seems like it works really well in amongst that team.
At 2 different points in the season, Bobby Fong led this Steel Commander Superbike Championship. So for Sean Dillon Kelly, who oddly enough for us, he's a Superbike rookie.
Yep.
But the fact that Cameron Beaubier just goes Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, best personal splits, and that is matched by the best Sector 3 overall race split. But now you're really starting to see the pace drop, Jay.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if 207s, as Cameron Beaubier just goes 207.891. Sean Dillon Kelly had a 208.0, and that was the fastest race lap ever for a Steel Commander Superbike at Circuit of the Americas. That's just been lowered to 207.891 by Cameron Beaubier. However, Sean Dillon Kelly, 208.3. So Beaubier's not done yet. And unless SDK has a look over his shoulder, the only time he's going to know they're closing the gap is going to be when he looks over at his pit board. Well, there could be a TV around the racetrack they can see as well.
Exactly, but you can see Cam a half a second quicker is really closing this gap down. He realizes that this is a pretty big turning point for him. If he's able to get by SDK and he ends up finishing 3rd as Cam just goes fastest first split again, that's a 9-point swing, Greg. So 9-point swing, that means he's gained 14 points back on the weekend. The other thing you have to take into consideration is the fitness. These guys have another race later on today. They're going to be jumping in the ice bath, hydrating and doing all those things. Beaubier needs to get this race out of the way. He is now going to be, this is going to be another very, very fast lap. Herrin has a look over his shoulder, sees his teammate again. So it kind of tells me he's kind of okay with third at this point. He's not going to push on and try to do anything silly, and he doesn't need to.
Yeah, we have just over 3 laps to go in the Steel Commander Superbike, race number 2 of 3 on the weekend.
Now, sorry, Greg. One thing that I don't think will be a factor is we have to remember that STK didn't finish all his laps yesterday. So he's not exactly sure what his tire is going to feel like with 3-4 laps to go. When we come by this next time, he will have that 3 laps to go. But he's still strong. A 2:08.3 that last time by. He was only 0.3 off of his own personal best time. Now Beaubier is there. He's going to take his time and kind of figure out where he thinks he might be able to size up STK and make this good, clean pass.
BMW M1000 RRs, 2 different teams. Same data, information. Alpha makes these bikes out of Germany, and onto the front straightaway they go. Coming across the line, Jay, 2:08.7 to 2:08.1 for Beaubier. So it was like the heat was on. Beaubier just needed to put in a couple of really hectic laps, some fast laps just to get to Sean Dillon Kelly. And I think this is playing out the way you thought. Beaubier's going to sit here for a second. He's going to relax. He's going to see where he's good. And now that Cameron Beaubier has been able to dispense of Josh Herrin, at least for the moment, then he's in good shape to possibly win this race.
A couple interesting factors that might play into this as well is that STK probably saw, I'm not sure what they had on his board, but it was +0, and then it went to +1, maybe +1.5. Now he's going to see that gap has closed down a lot, quite a lot again. He's probably wondering who it is, but I have a feeling he's going to know who it is. They may even have it on his board. Cam has a good run on him there. STK breaks late. The thing that you have to remember is race wins in MotoAmerica, especially in Superbike, don't come around very often. The 40 is going to be hungry to get this first win for his team, Top Pro Racing. They've done a great job this year. Beaubier, on the other hand, he's doing it for a whole other reason. He realizes he's still in with a shot here. And, you know, with his injuries and stuff at the beginning in the year, missing around and so forth, Beaubier still has a shot at this. So there's a couple of interesting determining factors that could play into this with about 2.5 laps to go.
Hannah.
I think there's probably no question that Sean Dillon Kelly knows who's on his tail. There's a tower at the end of this front straightaway here with the number order, and these guys are looking at their pit boards. They're trying to gain as much information as possible, and that's something that's certainly right in front of them. So he knows who's there.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. You're not going to get the split necessarily, but obviously you can hear the bikes coming up from behind you. So yeah, he'll know that it's the number 6. He'll know where Herrin is and the rest of the field if he's got a quick look at it. The 2.5 laps to go. Sean Dillon Kelly trying to fight off the advances of Cameron Beaubier. It's a similar motorcycle. Same spec motorcycle, BMW M1000 RR, different team. And for Sean Dillon Kelly, JP, he just wants to bring this home, not only for himself, but for his EasyHealthCarePlans.com Top Pro Racing team.
2:08.9 that time by. So we're seeing the lap times creep up, as you'd expect as the race gets later on. Beaubier just has this look about him, though, when he's ready to pounce. He looks very relaxed and very calm, especially in some of the braking zones. I expect you might see something at the, going down into turn 10 on this specific lap. He's really good through these S's. He's going to draw up on the back of STK. You can see a little chunk of time there, a little chunk of time there as well. And you're going to see maybe as they go up over through the fast turn 10 there, this is all going to be second gear on a Superbike. Then a lot of the guys, as soon as they come out of this next left, they short shift from third up to fourth and run down this hill wide open. STK has done a really nice job this time. This is where Cameron was quick last time through. He's not as close this time, though, Greg. So STK did a good job in that first split. He's 10th quicker. And now we're off to the end of the back straightaway and see if we can draft him here.
Sean Dillon Kelly has definitely had less mistakes, at least blaringly obvious mistakes to us on camera than Cameron Beaubier. He's run wide on a couple different occasions. So Beaubier's got to be thinking about, instead of going a full bike length on pass, maybe I just get position and tip it in. And Beaubier's going for it now. He's going to the inside of the racetrack. But we've seen him not be able to make this pass and turn. STK goes up the inside. So another opportunity for Cameron Beaubier, not able to get his motorcycle slowed down in time. And Sean Dillon Kelly gets back to the front.
Yep, and that's what you're going to see. I think when you look at the space that Cam gave STK going in, it tells me that he knew he was in deep early. As a rider, when you start getting into corners too quickly, you have a tendency to get to the inside to give yourself more room, more track, especially if you know you're going to run wide on your exit. I think when you see a pass where the riders are closer going in, that means he's got his speed controlled at the end of the straightaway, and he's going to be able to make it to the apex cleanly and get his drive out. That last time was a test shot, and he wasn't able to. Now this time it's going to matter, because the next time it's going to matter, rather, because this is going to be white flag. As they come to the line right now, there it is, last lap. Herron is about right now. Herron's 3.4 back. Let's see if Cam does something up into turn 1.
Here we go, Cameron Beaubier trying to go up the inside. This is very tricky with the elevation change, but he's able to get position. Sean Dylan Kelly once again gets to the apex late, squaring it off, but Beaubier goes for position. So for the moment, he's got it, but SDK trying to take a much tighter line, and they're side by side, and Sean Dylan Kelly holds on.
What an incredible pass by SDK to make that commitment early. You can see Beaubier drove it into turn 2 hard, and it made him a little bit wide. When he got to the bottom of turn 2, it ran him out and wide. SDK was able to square it up, get back by him. Look at this. Oh, I thought Beaubier might take a shot there. So now we're going to see how they maneuver up and over through here as well.
Is Beaubier going to try to park Kelly when we get down towards the back straightaway? He's definitely close enough, but now instead of getting a whole bike length, is he just going to try to park him to the apex? Here goes the number 6. To the apex he goes. Kelly looks to his left, and it's a drive onto the back straightaway. And Beaubier with a little bit of wheel in the air, and it was a good one. So that one played out for him, but now we have this deep braking section where Beaubier has made a couple of mistakes before, and the number 40, Kelly, has not. Here we go, Beaubier deep into the corner, and it looks like he's got the preferred line.
Though. He is deep, but he's got it in there, and he's got it turned. So you can see he was able to use his preferred line getting in there, and he runs it tight out of there. Now he's got to make sure in this next series of lefts, out of this right, he's got to hang over to the left-hand side of the track and make sure to block this, which is what he's trying to do. It's exactly what he did. He blocked it. And now the last real shot that SDK is going to have is either the last turn, or if he runs it through this long right quickly enough, Greg, he could use some exit and try to park Cameron in the next left.
So here goes Beaubier on the gas as they go to the braking zone. Here comes the 40, Kelly. No room for him to go. So now Cameron Beaubier has got this one. It's to the final corner. Here comes Kelly. He's deep on the brakes, trying to find position. Can he get it turned? They're going to squirt off the final corner. The drag race to the checkered flag. It's going to be Sean Dylan Kelly with the win by 1/10 of a second. What a race.
Wow, that is incredible. And here we go a little bit further back. This is going to be Brandon Posh, Cameron Peterson, you see there as Xavi Flores also. They've got by Xavi Flores on this lap, has Brandon Posh and Cam Peterson. So this is the fight right now. Bobby Fong came across in 5th. Posh is going to end up getting 6th over Cam Peterson, Xavi Flores, and JD Beach.
Wow. What a win. If you think about all the stuff that has unfolded for this young man in the span of less than 3 years, to be able to come here and win at Circuit of the Americas with this move, Jason.
I really thought Cam would move over to the left a little bit more there. And, you know, Greg, again, Josh Herron is going to be really happy with SDK that just happened also. It took a lot of points away in this championship. So for SDK, so well deserved. The best way to do it is to do it like that. You know, last corner, last lap, everything on the line for him, trying to get that team's first win. Congrats to this whole crew at Top Pro.
EasyHealthPlans.com, Top Pro Racing team with their first victory, and with that livery on board, designed at the hands of a bunch of kids.
I think his airbag went off too.
Did his suit deploy?
Hey, that's all right. Suit deployed while you're still sitting on it through celebration. So yeah, congrats to this guy for sure, and Jeremy Torrey and everybody down there.
Your Dunlop race pace 208.074 for SDK. That was the fastest lap of the race. Ended up going to Beaubier at a 7.89. You don't want to go anywhere, because when we come back to Victory Lane, Hannah's going to talk to SDK 40 and find out how he's feeling.
In his 17th attempt at it, Sean Dylan Kelly able to take this beautiful bike all the way to Victory Lane earlier this week, taking the motorcycle to the Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital in Hollywood, Florida, letting the kids take the Sharpies to the white bodywork, Roger, and then they're going to get to watch this and see the photos of their artwork in Victory Lane.
Yeah, for Sean to do that was great. And, man, what a great ride he put on as well. I mean, just to win a shootout like that with with you know, a guy like Cameron Beaubier all the way to the last corner. I mean, that's huge. His race pace was so fast today. He just stayed in the 208s. And for Sean, it's great to see him get that win. The last couple years have been rough. You know, he went to Moto2 and things didn't go well. And last year things happened too, and he got sidelined. And I think he kind of questioned, you know, if I'm going to, you know, who's going to sign me? Am I going to be able to get my career back on track? And he's able to do it. His team owner there, Alex Arango, also able to get this set there and enjoy it as well. But not only for Sean, but you have to think about this team. First year in Superbike, with, you know, as sophisticated as Superbikes are these days, and come in and win like this is impressive from Sean and the team.
He's been close. This was his 5th podium finish this season, but to be able to get his first victory there, and you asked that question, who's going to sign me? From the standpoint of Sean Dylan Kelly, you saw those images with his team principal, Alex Arango. That's who signed him. They believed in him, and they put all of their faith in him to guide this program in multiple classes from the top on the Superbike, and he's done it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter how good the rider is if you don't put the right people around him and the right team around him. This is really a team sport. You need the bike, the crew, you need the whole package to go out there and win, especially in Superbike races. And it's just it's pretty surprising what they're doing this year to be able to start winning races this quick. But I really like it because I think it shows that other teams can come here to the top class and start a team and get in there and win races and be competitive.
Needing the right people, that team. Jeremy Toy coming over and joining Sean Dylan Kelly at Top Pro as his crew chief. He was his crew chief when he won the Supersport title before going over to Moto2. And for Sean, that was a big part of coming back to MotoAmerica and making this step up to Superbike. He felt like he needed Jeremy there with him.
Well, they won a lot of races together, and I think he also knew, you know, he's got a lot of faith in Jeremy that's going to lay it all on the line for Sean, and that's what it's about, is having somebody that believes in you. And I believe that's what Sean needed after what happened in Moto2.
And you can just see how everybody in the paddock, as Sean makes his trip over to the podium, you see how excited everybody is for him. Let's hear from him with Hannah Lopa. We'll go back over to Greg and Jason.
Some moments while we were at break, the rider closest to you is Alex Arango, number 89. He is one of the team principals that put this Top Pro team together, and a great story from the 89, who finished 14th, by the way, got himself a couple of points. He was slated to run one of these Superbikes, and what happened at the beginning of the season, there was a bit of a disaster with STK's bike, and Alex set aside his own personal ambitions of racing in Superbike and said, look, I got to stock thousands, so everything we have Superbike-wise goes to you, Sean Dylan Kelly, and that was a great moment between team owner and his rider. Celebrations with the teams. Let's take a look at the results and see how this field played out. We know that Sean Dylan Kelly with a .177 second margin of victory over Beaubier. Josh Aaron perfectly played at 4.8. His teammate Loris Baz, Fong, Posh, Peterson, Xavi Forez, JD Beach, and Ashton Yates, who rounds out your top 10. First rider in our Superbike Cup category on that Honda CBR 1000RR-RSP. Let's get down to Hannah, who has our race winner.
A very long cool down lap and so much excitement. He set off that airbag in the suit. Sean, this has been a season of hard work to get to this point, coming off being in the World Championship and uncertain of the future. How much does this first win mean to you?
Oh my God, I'm a bit numb right now. I screamed like a mofo. I cried like a mofo as well. This is insane. This is almost fairy tale winning with this special livery. You know, it really meant a lot to go with those kids last week, and it just shows you that, you know, we complain so much about certain issues and it's nothing. You know, they're so much stronger than us. So it just feels amazing. This is obviously for them, for the kids. Absolutely amazing. Top Pro Racing team, guys, thank you so much for believing in me. We had a breakdown yesterday. My guys stayed till late. Thank you so much to them for working hard. And man, this is just unbelievable. I can't believe it. I can't believe I got my first Superbike win here. Thank you to all my sponsors, OnlyFans, Palm Beach Police and Fire Foundation, CJ, 1833 CJ Knows. Thank you so much. Guys, this is incredible. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, Sean Dillon Kelly a little excited about this victory.
As he should be. I mean, this is the goal when you're a little kid, and the way he got into racing was not your typical way to do it. And after spending 2 years in Europe and really trying to find his pace, to come back and shake all that off, I mean, the resilience is incredible. Let's get down to Hannah with Cameron Beaubier.
In a very hard-fought battle for Cameron Beaubier throughout that race. Take us through going back and forth with SDK.
Yeah, and I mean, first off, hats off to Sean. He rode incredible. He just flat out beat me those last couple laps. I was struggling there for grip there at the end, but I mean, no excuses. He just flat out beat me. He stuffed it up the inside and got me to the line. It was pretty awesome to have a last lap battle like that. Man, we were so close to touching going into the S's. It's pretty crazy. It was. You know, obviously, I would have loved to win, but that was an awesome battle. Hats off to my Tyler's BMW guys. Yeah, there at the beginning, Josh and I were going back and forth, kind of stuffing each other and slowing each other up. So yeah, maybe it would have been different at the end if I wasn't doing that at the beginning. But like I said, he rode awesome. So gonna go get cooled off and see what we got for the last race of the day.
There you have it, second place, Cameron Beaubier.
It's always good to hear, you know, that Beaubier, even though on a loss, he's still enjoying the race, especially with such a young talent like SDK.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's doing a great job as Cam. But let's get back down to Hannah real quick here.
Rounding out our podium, Josh Herron. Josh, take us through that race. I know you got one more. I know you've thought about all the different scenarios. How does this kind of line up in your strategy for the rest of the day?
Yeah, obviously I would have liked to try to win up there, but I saw, you know, as the race went on, I kind of adapted a different strategy. I saw Sean. I knew he wanted to win really bad, so if I could battle with Cam a little bit, hold him up a little bit, because I wasn't feeling that I had what it took to win, that Sean would get away, and it played out exactly how I imagined it. Cam almost got him there at the end. I was nervous. I was looking at the pylon trying to see what was going on, but played out exactly how I wanted, because instead of losing 5 points, I lost 4, so I'll take a third all day long, and now just try to go for the win. I conserved a bunch of energy there at the end of the race, and yeah, I'm going to try to go for a win in this race 3.
Thanks, Josh. See, I told you guys they look at that tower there.
Yeah, you told me.
You're on it, Hannah.
And really, I think when you look at this championship, this could be one of those races you look at Josh Herron and you say this is a well-played race for him, especially under this heat with these 3 races that are happening. Our coverage will continue from Circuit of the Americas Steel Commander Superbike Race 2 in a moment.
Continuing our coverage here from the podium, the celebration area on MotoAmerica Live Plus. Roger, one Superbike race remains later this afternoon, and for Cameron Beaubier, he said that Sean Dillon Kelly just flat out beat him. When you watch the end of that race and how much more pace Sean was able to hold on to, what does Beaubier's team need to do?
Well, I think for Cam, if he can get a better start and not let Josh get in front of him and try to check out and control the race. He was sliding around a lot, and I think Cameron had to really use a lot of his tires to chase down Sean Dillon Kelly because Sean was going so fast, and his lap times were super consistent, and he was having to push. So just try to figure out the grip toward the end. But I think if he can just get out early and not get in a battle early, he could maybe try to check out. But you got to think Sean Dillon Kelly's confidence now going in to this race this afternoon is going to be pretty high.
You see that reaction from Sean Dillon Kelly, hearing his name for the very first time as a Superbike winner. It's cool to get to watch him celebrate this victory. Let's talk about the championship. You see Josh Herron there with that 3rd place finish today, his 11th podium of the season. He has 5 wins already and now a 51-point lead going into the 3rd race of the weekend this afternoon. If he can leave here this weekend with a 51-point lead, that would crown him as the 2024 champion.
Yeah, and he says he's going to go for a win, so we'll see what happens. But Josh played that really well, and mentioned it during that race. It kind of looks like he wasn't worried about Sean. You could see he was just trying to let Sean get away, and Josh just has such good racecraft to be able to think about things like that, and it worked out for him. But I think for Josh, I think he wants to win, 51 points. He wants to go out there and try to win the title with the win. If the bike feels like it, but also if it's really hot and greasy, see people starting to make mistakes, Josh will probably play it cool.
Loris Baz, though, Josh's teammate, able to finish in 4th. And while he's been up there and he's been close, here in this race over the 12 laps, as far as pace goes, consistency-wise, Loris Baz was right there this time.
Yeah, it says 8 seconds off the lead, but really it wasn't that far. He just kind of slowed down those last couple laps. He was kind of catching the leaders, and then they would pull away and kind of seesaw them back and forth. I think if he can latch on early, that's the big part. You know, Sean and Cam and Josh Herron are so fast. If you let them get a couple seconds early on in those first couple laps, it's almost impossible to be able to chase those guys down as well as they're riding right now.
Sean Dylan Kelly even directing photography down there in this incredible team photo that they're going to get to treasure for many, many years to come. Bobby Fong came into the weekend sitting second in points, Roger, able to finish inside of the top 5 here.
Yeah, an improvement race. A couple mistakes on the brakes down into turn 12, or maybe he could have chased down Loris, but that's the best we've seen Bobby all weekend. And race 3 this afternoon, a little better start for him. He might be up there.
All right, those festivities now wrapping up for the Superbike podium area. There is your winner. Congratulations to Sean Dylan Kelly. Let's go back over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore.
Overhead shot circuit of the Americas here in Austin, Texas on a MotoAmerica race weekend. Steel Commander Superbike, race number 2. And Sean Dylan Kelly, number 40, is able to notch his very first victory. And JP, it was hard work.
It was. You can see these two battling up into turn 1. And it was going to be Josh Herron coming out of there. STK makes through all that mess in second. He makes a nice tight pass here on Herron in our stadium section. Beaubier took a couple shots, didn't he, Greg? I mean, he kept trying to make this pass work, only to have the bikes get turned back up underneath him. Once Cam was able to get some clear track, he was able to get that gap down, but you can see, to your point earlier, he was having a lot of trouble getting that bike slowed, getting it turned. This is him and Herron going through the S's. They passed each other in probably 5, 6, 7 different spots. Beaubier makes that clean pass up into turn 1, only to have STK go by him 2 corners later, and it really came down to this last lap battle down into turn 10. Beaubier holds him off through the stadium section, and it all came down to the last corner. This is no probably better way to win your first Superbike race than just do that. You go past Cam Beaubier in the last corner and hold on for the victory.
Not bad for a young man, as Cameron Beaubier won his 84th career all-time. And Sean Dylan Kelly gets his first in the Superbike class. We'll be back.
Continuing here on MotoAmerica Live Plus. It is a quiet racetrack right now as we are in between the racing action. Next up will be the Bellissimoto Twins Cup Championship round. After all of the hard-fought efforts over the course of this season, it will all come down to this final race and trying to figure out who will be crowned the champion between Alessandro Di Mario and Rocco Landers. Rocco came into the race weekend as the point leader. Alessandro was able to win the race yesterday. Rocco didn't score any points, and Roger, it was pretty dramatic.
It was a huge race. I mean, that race was changing lap by lap, and then we thought Rocco was out of it. He gets back in the race, works his way back inside the top 10. Then we had a red flag. So there was a lot to take on, man. This is a lot of pressure on a lot of these riders are some young kids, and they're out here fighting for titles. And we've been watching this Twins Cup class all year. It has changed directions. Early on, Gus was dominating, and then Rocco made a huge charge, and he was dominating. And now, toward the end of the year, when it counts, Alessandro Di Mario is a guy working his way toward the front.
The action's been nonstop all weekend. One thing that has been consistent, though, has been the temperature. Track temperature nearing 110 degrees. It's right about what it was yesterday as well. Michael, you've been down there all weekend. Do you notice any changes today?
No, it's still scorching hot down here. It's so hot. What I can tell you, though, is that Superbike race was an absolute cracker. The work behind me that you can see, this is the Altus Motorsports team. I'm just trying to get a little bit of shade because it is getting so hot. This bike behind me, the 85 of Jake Lewis, that was the winner. He was the winner yesterday, of course, wasn't he, in the Supersport race. Jarrett Nassani and Torin Collins as well, also riding for this team. I've just seen a couple of riders coming past us, one of the riders, of course, Austin Sierra from the Top Pro team. Big smiles on his face. What an effort from that team, of course. All eyes on Cameron Beaubier for the title, but Sean Dillon Kelly there, clearly just out for himself, as he should be. You know, we are racing here. He's riding for himself as well, and so happy for Sean. We touched on it, Roger and myself, a little bit earlier when we did that build-up for the Kramer Championship, that, you know, it's a hard ask to go from a production bike onto a prototype. Sean's come back. He's reinvented himself. Looks like he's been riding superbikes for years, and it was only a matter of time, wasn't it, before Sean Dillon Kelly got his first win. So happy for SDK. I guess the question now is, can he do the double? Obviously, we do have another race today. What's Josh Herring going to do in race number 3, because of course there is still a championship at stake, and of course Cam Beaubier now needs to win race 3 more than ever to keep his championship alive. So lots still to come on MotoAmerica Live Plus. I'm going to throw it back up to Greg and Jason with more from them.
Steel Commander Superbike coverage is brought to you by Steel Commander Corps, a leading steel building manufacturer offering expertise, innovation, and a dedication to quality. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
This is what we all want to see, championship point standings. Now, at this point, we have 3 left, so that's 75 points. And Josh Herring holding a 51-point lead. So we know that the situation kind of sits around like this, JP. If, no matter what happens the next race, that Josh Herring is able to keep Cameron Beaubier behind him, whether he wins or not is kind of irrelevant. As long as Beaubier is behind Herring, then Herring is going to actually wrap up this championship 1 race weekend early.
Yeah, and he would love to do that, but I don't think he needs to take any unnecessary risk. And if you listen to the way he's speaking, he understands everywhere he's at point-wise. So I think for Josh, now it's a matter of try to go out and win this race today. If the opportunity is there, try to do it. But don't throw a season of hard work away by trying to get it wrapped up 1 race early. If you can win. If you can't, let's go to New Jersey and see what happens there.
So there's a lot to play for in this next race that we have coming up a little bit later on today. Can Loris Baz get a better start, maybe work his way into helping Josh Herring sort this thing out? And, of course, Sean Dillon Kelly really helping out Josh Herring in his championship. That's coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. You don't want to miss that. Steel Commander Superbike race number 3. Congratulations to Sean Dillon Kelly and his Top Pro Racing team on an outstanding debut win in the Steel Commander Superbike class and his 20th all-time victory. For Hannah Lopa, Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in a couple hours.